Is Stephen Curry truly in the GOAT conversation in the NBA? Well, let's unpack. I want to start by saying that I'm not trying to make a case for him, okay? I personally do not think that Stephen Curry is the greatest of all time, but please stay. It's not that simple. I'm not going to beat around the bush. My GOAT is Michael Jordan, right? But that's just my opinion. That's just my GOAT, I guess. But after the 2021-2022 NBA Finals between Golden State and Boston, Stephen Curry's performance, fourth ring, Finals MVP, etc., really does probably alter his status into where he ranks of all, like in the all-time standings. In the NBA, there is a huge thing. Well, I mean, in all sports, there's a huge thing, and it's called bias. And a lot of people have bias towards players that they like, teams that they support. And whilst, like I said, I think Jordan is the GOAT, that doesn't mean that I am fully against Stephen Curry. That otherwise I wouldn't be making this video, which I'm making to sort of open the discussion, not try and make an argument to support him as the greatest of all time, because I don't think he is. However, it seems to be very black and white when it comes to the perception of Stephen Curry in this sort of conversation. It's either I think he's almost up there, with the Magics, the Kareems, the Wilts, the LeBrons, the Jordans, the Bill Russells, etc. And then there's people who just say he can do nothing but shoot, he had a good peak, and he doesn't come top 25, top 30 for me. And there doesn't seem to be an in-between really anywhere. And I am sort of in between, okay? I don't think he is quite on the level that Jordan was at, that LeBron has been at, and all those sorts of players that I mentioned before. He may have 4 rings, but he doesn't have 11 like Bill Russell. As dominant as he was never as dominant as Wilt Chamberlain. And that's okay. He has still been an absolute star in the basketball world, and I don't think he gets enough credit, and sometimes he gets too much. So I'm trying to sort of create a discussion in the sort of grey area of where I think he lies personally, but it's not really about what I think. I'm just going to present what I can to you, and you can make your own conclusion. That's what this is about. So why do people sort of criticize him a bit more harshly than other people? Personally, I just straight off the bat, I kind of think it's because he was very dominant in his peak, right? And people like to acknowledge it, but they don't really like to celebrate it. A great example of, and this isn't just in his peak, I mean, his whole game is not just 3-pointers, but it's really built off 3-pointers. He's the best shooter of all time, and there's no debate about that, okay? A lot of things in sport, pretty much everything in sport, is subjective. That is not one of them. Stephen Curry is the best shooter of all time. Okay, Reggie Miller, I love him. Pacers fan myself. Ray Allen, Glenn Rice, Klay Thompson. Shut up. You're all, you're nothing compared to Stephen Curry, okay? Stephen Curry, best shooter of all time. And people sort of act like, okay, he's the best shooter, but that's all he does. Yeah. Even if that was all he did, so what? Like, it gets you points for your team, and that's what I don't understand. If you look at someone like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he had the skyhook, right? One of the most unstoppable shots in basketball. Potentially the most unstoppable shot in the history of basketball, okay? What a shot the skyhook was. And that is celebrated to this day. It was, Kareem's skyhook, I still remember him doing the big old wing, wing, wing. Which is good, it should be celebrated. And that gives you a solid 2 points. Unbelievable. Shout out to Kareem, what a legend. But then why is Stephen Curry's 3 sort of looked at as, I don't know, a negative in some ways? Because it is sometimes portrayed as a negative. He shoots and that's all he does. So what? It's not even the 2 points that Kareem got, it's the 3 points. Why is it perceived differently? You get 3 points for your team by hitting a 3, and this guy does it like, he can do it with his eyes closed. He's won so many 3-point contests in his career, and I know that doesn't have anything to do with his on-court contribution, but it just kind of goes to show how lethal he was outside the arc. He might be perceived as a bit of a one-dimensional player with his 3-point shot, and somehow less impactful because of that. Maybe because he plays it in a more unique way than we know. The Kareem skyhook was unique specifically to him, I guess. Kareem's skyhook was like a personal trait. Like, obviously other players have tried it. No one has ever been able to replicate it the same as Kareem, and it's sort of an individual attribute, sort of attributed to Kareem. The 3-point shot is iconic, and a lot of it is because of Steph, but other players obviously are good at 3-point shots. Nowhere near as good as him, but still good, and it's a utilized thing regularly in NBA basketball. But again, I come back to my point, like, so what, Yes, the 3-point shot is modern, and it's only really being used now, and that's the point I was trying to get at. It's only really been utilized over the past couple of years, like as much as it has been. Since it's been inducted to the league, it's gone on such a huge upward rise, and Stephen Curry has the most 3-point shots made in NBA history. He broke that this year. He beat Ray Allen, and Ray Allen retired ages ago. Steph Curry's still playing. Okay, yes, he's a bit past his peak, but he's just won a Finals MVP. Who's stopping him? Who's slowing him down right now? So I think that sort of covers my sort of perception on why people have their perception on Stephen Curry as either a super good or a really crap. I mean, probably not. No one really thinks he's crap, but a lot of people seem to really push him under the dirt and say no, he comes nowhere near the GOAT conversation, and others think he's really up there. I think I've made that pretty clear. A lot of the time when I look at who could probably be the greatest of all time, I look at who was good and who had the best sort of peak, I guess. It's not all about who had the best peak, otherwise Derrick Rose would be a top 15 player of all time, right? But at the same time, their peak is kind of important. Stephen Curry at his peak, the best. Okay, literally no one better than him at his peak. Do you understand that? He averaged 30 points per game in the 2015-16 NBA season and was influential beyond anything we've ever seen before, okay? Not only did he win the scoring title, make All-NBA first team, yada, 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 he won the MVP unanimously. He was the only player to ever do that, still to this day, the only player to ever do that. He was on a 73-win team, all right? An NBA team plays 82 games in a season, and they won 73 of them. That is the best win record of all time in a regular season. They only lost 9 games, obviously, in that season, which is bizarre, right? And not only did Steph, average these 30 points, he went up in rebounds, and his playmaking didn't even take a hit, despite the insane amount of scoring he was doing. His 3-point precision was a joke, right? The amount he was taking was ridiculous. He broke the all-time record, and it still stands to this day, for the amount of threes made in a season, and he shot 45% from the 3-point line while doing that, right? He was trigger happy, but he was knocking them down at an insanely impressive rate. And he also had 50% from the field and 90% from the free throw line, so making him part of the 50-40-90 club and 50-45-90 club, which is unbelievable, okay? If you really think about it, that is obscene, okay? And yes, he won the unanimous MVP for his brilliant performances, but then people like to say, okay, well, his team won 73 games, so, obviously he was going to win it unanimously. But are we forgetting the fact that Stephen Curry was that team? People make comparisons, these 2016 Warriors, to the 1996 Chicago Bulls 20 years earlier, right? Which is a joke, okay? Michael Jordan's 96 Bulls are so far ahead on paper than the 2016 Warriors team. Not the Warriors team the year after, as soon as KD joined them, because Warriors constantly got the better of OKC and Curry got the better of Durant. So Durant joined the Warriors, right? And he was now the superstar, I guess. He'd only won MVP a couple of years earlier. Steph, in this, in the 2 years where they beat they beat the Cavs in 2015 and then lost in 2016. But the loss in 2016 was just a hiccup in the finals. But the season, all the way leading up to that even 4 games into the series where they are 3-1 up against Cleveland, Curry was superhuman, okay? That is also something not debatable. He was an extraterrestrial at his peak, I'm telling you. The guy was knocking down threes for fun. He was finding open teammates, creating shot after shot after shot. And the good thing about the Warriors team is they had Klay Thompson, who was an outlet shooter, obviously, splash whenever Curry got double or triple teamed. But I come back to my previous point, that the Bulls in 96 are better than the Warriors in 2016 because they had Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, whereas you look at a team like the Warriors, like they had a second star, I guess. He was never a superstar, but an all-star player, a very good player, right? Top 5 shooter of all time in Klay Thompson as another outlet. But for me, he's almost just an amplified version of John Paxson or Steve Kerr. Better, I'd want to stress that, but still played a very similar role for the Warriors, and keep in mind it's much more modern basketball, then, he played a very similar role that Kerr and Paxson did. So I feel like Klay Thompson would, never reach superstar level, but he never had to. He was just there to play defense and to shoot threes and do his job, and do his job he did and has done well. I mean, he just won another championship for crying out loud. Stephen Curry just played the most elegant basketball I've ever seen in my life, and it was glorious. It was glorious. And as much as you can make up, oh, they were such a good team and all this stuff, no, they weren't really. They had Klay Thompson to sit there and shoot threes, play some good defense, and Draymond Green to strictly play defense. And to be fair, he averaged 14 that season, so he was actually scoring the ball a fair bit, right? But who was facilitating that the most? What else? Stephen Curry. What do you know? And, Draymond's a stud of a defender, right? He's an unbelievable defender. But you do realize that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen also had three great defenders in Dennis Rodman, but also Scottie Pippen and also Michael Jordan. All right, Stephen Curry was never a plus defender, primarily because he never had to play defense, right? That was Scottie Pippen did that. What am I saying? What? No. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green sort of took care of that. And obviously Andre Iguodala when he was playing as well. People were looking at this whole Finals MVP thing as a bit of a gap in Curry's legacy. Right, he'd won 2 MVPs. One of them was unanimous. He's won 3 championships. 3 championships, and made 5 finals appearances, all in a row, I believe. And then you got this one this year. That's a 4th championship and a 6th finals appearance in like 8 years or something crazy like that. And Curry had never won a Finals MVP. There were a couple championships that were easy from 2016-17 to 2018-19. Obviously, they lost that one against the Raptors, but the 2 before the Raptors loss with Kevin Durant, okay, sure, I can sort of give you that one. Them 2, and not that Curry won Finals MVP anyway, because he had Kevin Durant on his team who was doing that, winning the Finals MVP. And obviously, they were a powerhouse at that point. But what we're focusing on is prior to that, in 2015-16, and obviously the year before that, they were never a powerhouse or a super team or anything ridiculous like that. Stephen Curry was that team. Can we make that clear? Can we all agree on that, please? Stephen Curry was that team in both of those years, and he should have won the 2014-15 Finals MVP award. Iguodala won it for what? Okay, I love Iggy, but goodness me, he let LeBron just all over him and his defense, and he got the Finals MVP. I've never understood that to this day. I think either Curry or probably even just LeBron should have got the Finals MVP, because as Jerry West proved many decades ago, you don't need to win the Finals series to get the Finals MVP. The Finals MVP award, and I might actually make a separate video about this because some people think it's flawed. I don't. In some circumstances, it's been given incorrectly, I think, but it's supposed to be given to the player that performs the best in the finals. Who cares if you win? Who cares about your greatness? Who cares about your legacy? Whoever plays the best in the finals wins the award, okay? And that is why Stephen Curry should have won it in 2014-15, or LeBron. It's up for debate, I think. 2016, obviously LeBron. Next 2 years, KD. I can live with that. This year, very glad Curry won it. It's been the award's been okay in the last couple of years, but Stephen Curry, dominant, man. Absolutely dominant. And he was that team, okay? End of story. I've already said that. He was that team. So Stephen Curry's peak, in other words, there was no one better than him. And he turned that team, not just by himself, but pretty much by himself. He turned that team into a super team, but not on paper, okay? Jordan's second three-peat team, 100% was a super team on paper. They had a big 3. Rodman being the best one, I think, one of the best top 5 defenders of all time. And Scottie Pippen was a top 3 player in the NBA and had the best player in the NBA on his team at the same time. So that's a little bit of a boost, don't you reckon? And then they had good role players sort of sitting around to do the shooting, to do the ball handling, to do the defense, whatever. The Warriors just had Steph Curry, an outlet shooter in Klay Thompson, a defensive monster in Draymond Green, and then good players like Andre Livingston, Andrew Bogut, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, etc. to sort of just do their roles, and they did them well. And I'm not taking anything away from the rest of the Warriors team, but Stephen Curry was the main difference maker, and that was him in his peak. The Warriors could not have bagged a player like Steph Curry at his peak at a better time, because it all just fit in together like perfectly, better than a puzzle, mate. And even when KD was there, Curry was still playing unbelievably. And whilst he wasn't having finals series explosions, he had one this year. He's won a finals MVP. What hasn't he done that he's sort of been expected to do? What can you sort of take away from him now? He's a 4-time champion, a 2-time MVP. He's been on the All-NBA team 4 times, by the way, All-NBA first team. Double that number and you've got his all-round All-NBA team appearances. I think it's 8 now. He's the leading three-point maker of all of basketball in ever, and it's probably not going to be broken, and if it is, it will not be in our lifetime, that's for sure. Even though the three-point sort of aspect to basketball has grown drastically, and it is going to grow in the next couple of years. But why is that? It's because of Stephen Curry. His legacy, I have not really talked about the amount he has actually changed basketball. I'm not here to sort of talk about that much, even though that's such a huge thing in basketball. I mean, you look at players that have impacted the game, like Jordan and LeBron, and obviously many other players like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird in particular. Curry's done the same. You know, what can you take away from him? This is what I'm saying. I'm talking about his accolades as well. And now that he's got the Finals MVP, I was talking about his MVPs, yada, yada, yada. He's got the 2 scoring titles. He was part of the best regular season basketball team in NBA history. What can you take away from him? And don't give me the whole he shoots threes and that's about it sort of crap. Because, yeah, he shoots threes, but it works, doesn't it? That's how he scores points. Kareem, I'm not taking anything away from Kareem. He gets all the credit he needs to, right? With his skyhook. Oh, it's magic. It is. It gets 2 points. But what about Stephen Curry's 3 points? Oh, it's not as good. How? You multiply what Kareem was getting by 1.5, and then you've got quick maths, bruh. Seriously, Stephen Curry's shooting ability is so sacred and so unrivaled. It is not even funny. And Stephen Curry's ability in basketball is something that I actually overlooked for a long time. Okay, I was always thinking, you know, in the back of my head, what can I sort of take away from this guy? And now that he's won the Finals MVP, there's nothing. There's no hole in his legs. He could retire tomorrow, and I think he'd be sufficed. Okay, and I think we all would be. For me, Stephen Curry ranks in the top 12 players of all time. I think he squeezes into the top dozen. Okay, and if you think top 10, that is respectable. I mean, I'll respect your opinion if you think he's the greatest of all time. It's basketball, okay? People are entitled to their opinions, no matter how bad we may think some people's takes are. It's their opinions. My opinion is that Stephen Curry is either too hyped up or far too overshadowed and overlooked because he's the greatest shooter of all time. He's won multiple championships. He's the only ever unanimous MVP. That will probably be a thing for a long time. That's not going to get broken any soon, sorry. He had the best win percentage on a team in any season ever in the NBA. That's also something that probably will not be broken for a very, very long time. And he didn't even have a super team around him. He was the super in the super team. And that's all there is to it. His peak was unmatched. Will never be matched in our lifetime. No one is going to come close. I think what we can take away from this, I've probably just rambled on a bunch of garbage, but we can't really take anything away from Steph Curry. A lot of people want to. A lot of people try to. And no, I don't want to sit here and make it out like he's the greatest player of all time or even really anywhere near it, okay? He doesn't quite get up to that stature, but why is that? What doesn't he have, okay? He doesn't have the 2 3-peats that Jordan has. He doesn't have the 8 straight finals appearances that LeBron has. But he has the same amount of rings as LeBron, okay? LeBron has more finals MVPs. Curry has more scoring titles. He has more unanimous MVPs. He has better win percentage in the season. I think LeBron's greater purely because of his ability. LeBron ability-wise, I think, is the greatest of all time. Yes, ability-wise, even better than Michael Jordan, okay? But the whole ability thing can't really be compared to other eras. But I think the impact they had in that era can be compared to the impact other players had on the era. You've probably clicked off the video after about 0.5 seconds. After you saw my face, you shut down your computer, and that's what happened. But thank you very much for watching this video. If you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that would be very much appreciated. But apart from that, I will see you in the next video.